Hi there. The revolutions of 1989 and the subsequent fall of the Eastern Bloc is attributed as the fall of global communism, the end of the Cold War, and a testament that capitalism is the only working economic system, along with the only system that can guarantee democracy. When one examines the conditions that led to the near complete dissolution of the global socialist movement, it's common to reach the conclusion that the transition from socialism to capitalism was made completely by the popular demand of the suffering people. However, this conclusion is incomplete. Yes, there were sections of the population that were upset with the Soviet government and other socialist governments that wanted to move away from socialism. But these factions did not make up the majority, and to this day, they still don't. In 1991, a referendum was introduced to determine whether or not the Soviet Union would even continue existing. Such a referendum only became a possibility as a result of perestroika and foreign influence. The ordinary, everyday people that lived in the various satellites of the USSR voted almost overwhelmingly in favor of preserving the Soviet Union. Nearly 100% of those that voted in Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan voted in favor of preserving the USSR, with a smaller but still significant majority in Russia, the Ukraine, and Belarus likewise voting in favor of preservation. Those that voted in favor of the transition into capitalism primarily consisted of a corrupt faction that sought to create a new bourgeoisie, in other words, looking only to enrich their own wealth. The fall of the Soviet bloc held no interest to the general population, mainly outside forces and Western powers that looked to capitalize on the weaknesses of perestroika and expand the hegemony of capitalism. This goal was held particularly by the United States, who worked in close proximity to those looking to create a new bourgeoisie. At the behest of Yegor Gaidar, Anatoly Chubais, and personnel from Harvard, the former Soviet Union saw one of the worst economic downturns of the 20th century. Through the introduction of economic shock therapy, including the establishing of a voucher system that became abused by profiteering forces and the mass privatization of industry, the Russian economy and the general population met a sharp rise in poverty and income inequality. Western forces would ensure that this shock therapy would continue and solidify the stranglehold of capitalism in Russia, with Boris Yeltsin receiving a mass level of support and interference from the Western powers to keep him in power. The effects of this almost immediate shift into capitalism have been felt in Russia for over 2 decades, with income inequality and food security facing far more jeopardy than throughout most of, if not all of, the Soviet era. Caloric intake in Russia is 700 calories lower than it was during the period preceding and leading up to the dissolution of the USSR, further exemplifying the focus on building concentrated wealth over the well-being of the people. In historical terms, the so-called revolutions of 1989 and the early 1990s bear a strong resemblance to the attempt at counter-revolution in Hungary in 1956. Both events maintain a strong emphasis on the struggle for democracy, or independence rather, from the influence of the Soviet Union, albeit with slightly different material conditions. In 1956, the struggle for independence detailed a freedom from an accused Soviet military aggression, whereas the supposed 1989 revolution held more emphasis on the ideological concept of freedom in both militaristic and cultural terms. The 20th century witnessed some of the most significant cultural and political battles in history. The Cold War, the internal issues of the Soviet Union, such as the rise in outside influences and the various ideological distinctions in how the USSR maintained socialism, if even maintaining socialism at all at this point, and the watershed moment that saw the end of an era throughout Eastern Europe. The former Soviet republics still see a great deal of internal and external quarreling, with numerous polls showing significant percentages of Russia, Romania, and many other former socialist countries' populations expressing a nostalgia and longing for the days of socialism, with many saying that life under socialism was vastly superior to their current lives under capitalism. Others, however, claim that the fall of the Eastern Bloc in favor of capitalism brought greater opportunities and a greater sense of freedom for the general people. One thing is absolutely sure. The specter of communism is still haunting Europe, albeit in a somewhat more reserved fashion for much of the population, barring the actually active communist parties. There we have it, folks. That's just a brief little analysis of the dissolution of the Eastern Bloc. Now, before I end this video, I've got something to talk about. 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, that's right. After years of doing YouTube, both, just as some kid trying to make funny YouTube videos or seem smart making rant videos to a communist channel, I've reached the milestone, and I think that's pretty cool, considering how long I've just been making content in general. So the question is, how do we celebrate such an occasion? And I think for now, I'm going to leave that up to the viewer. It could be a live stream, it could be some big, grandiose academic project, it could just be a regular Q&A, it could be something with music. That's up for you to decide. If you want to give feedback on that, you can either comment on this video, or I will make a poll in the community tab that I now have with the 1,000 subscribers. I'll make a poll on there, and you can pick what kind of video you want to see to celebrate 1,000 subscribers. Now, if nobody really chimes in, or there's not enough people to really get a definitive answer, then I'll just, make a decision. But I just want to get some feedback, get some interaction with the people who watch my videos to see what they really want to see as a celebration for reaching this milestone. So be sure to either comment what you want on this video or answer the poll. That's about it. My name is Jymee. Thank you for watching.